We go to the Insider Hotline and say hello to Jamie McLennan.
Oh,
James, how we doing?
Hi, guys. Remember Roberto Luongo had a bad boiler in the playoffs?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, the toilet emoji on Twitter.
Did you see Shaq? Shaq had her there.
Shaq
Oh,
Daddy
yeah,
had a
that
rough
one. He was the best part on that panel is they're like, I think Shaq, like, didn't Charles go, you gotta go the crapper? Like, he just calls him right out. Like, that.
Yeah.
Olive oil is he
You're drinking that olive oil. Drinking too much olive oil.
That's right. Tension shuffle. That was no good.
Yeah. What's going on?
Well, we're keeping our eye on the postseason and the action that's happening on the ice. There's a lot of exciting action on the ice, Jamie, these days. There's games every night.
I'm aware. You know where I live, right? I'm aware. You know where I live.
How is the hot take-a-tude in Toronto this morning?
It's red hot.
I think we have this segment on our show called Underpants Cam. So if you're, there's going to be a couple skid marks, I think.
It's like the boiler system. Yeah.
Yeah. What shade of brown are we here? Pretty dark. Oh dear.
We have like that on the screen. It's like a shade of brown, bottom right, top left. I think it might be bottom row, middle. Like
oh dear, that's
not good. But listen, it's so funny. I've talked to people all today in the market, not in the market, and the Ottawa Senators are allowed to be a good team too. I get that the Leafs jumped out to a 3-0 lead, and they played great. But outside of game one, which was Ottawa too horny on offense as far as aggressiveness and took too many penalties, they were 3 for 6 on the power play. The Leafs were, and Ottawa was 0 for 3 in that game. 6-2, the Leafs were the better team. Ottawa looked overwhelmed. But from games 2 to 5, it's been pretty close. And a bounce here, a seeing eye shot there. So it's when you look at the chances, they're not overwhelming. So it's last night the high danger chances were 7-7. So it's not this high event, wide open hockey. So it can go either way. But if you said to me at the start of the play of this round one, that series, I said it would probably go 6 or 7. Well, that's what's happening. But what's happened is the way it's arrived has really got people worked up. And, at 3-2 is 3-2. So the Leafs have an opportunity to close them out again. I don't know. I mean, it might go to 7, but Ottawa's the last couple games look pretty darn good. And it's amazing when the goalie starts making some saves. Mm-hmm. It could be a little scary.
Yeah. The funny part for me is like, okay, yeah, you were up 3-0, but essentially everyone's losing their mind that the Leafs didn't win 4 of 5. Like, we're in a league where favorites are often 60 to 65% in a lopsided matchup. You're asking a team to win 80% of a 5-game, and they didn't. What a bunch of losers.
It's the scar tissue, though,
right?
All
the psychology, it is. And
it is. And you're 100% right. The scar tissue is in this market, here we go again, seeing this act. Up 3-1 against Montreal in the bubble, losing 7. And what – the only thing that I get frustrated with is the verbiage. We won the division and they're an inferior team. It's not like Ottawa was a lottery team that just backdoored their way into the playoffs. They were second wild card, and they probably could have been in the top 3 in any other division based on either points or quality of competition. It just so happens the Atlantic 5 teams made it, and pretty good teams. So in the end, I look at it that way is like, okay, Ottawa's a good team. They're allowed to play. They've played hard. Outside of game 1, they haven't been overwhelmed. And I even was reminding somebody at TSN today saying, Thomas Chabot's 28 years old. This isn't, hey, lessons learned. He's 19. Like Brady and him, they have 500 games in the league. Great. So they know how to play. They just have never experienced the playoff situation. So they're learning on the fly, but they're not overwhelmed by the moment. It just so happens they don't have a wealth of, going deep into the playoffs or playing multiple years in the playoffs, but they're adjusting. And, I thought Jake Sanderson was the best player that kid can play, man. Like, he is so good. And, some of the younger guys aren't overwhelmed anymore. They're just playing.
Also, there's no pressure when you're down 3-0. Everyone's already written you off. Fun spot to play.
You can play hey, we got nothing to lose, go out and relax and play. And, I would suspect to see a big effort from the Leafs tomorrow. Ottawa might be defending a lot, or they got to figure out, but if Ottawa's found a formula too, then it might be another close game. There's no reason that doesn't lead me to believe that won't be another close game.
And I would argue that the team with the best goalie is 5-0. So
yeah,
you can
that scar tissue for the last 14 games where the Leafs with a win would eliminate their opponent are 1-13.
Yes.
So there is that.
Yep.
You mentioned Ullmark, 29 saves. He allowed 12 on 65 shots in the first 3 games. Since then, 3 on 63. So that's a sharp turn.
He looks more comfortable. Like, it's weird with him, and having been around him all year, it's not like he's a 60-game starter. We've already identified that. He's he's played 49 as the most he's ever played in the regular season. But he does get into these grooves where he looks comfortable. And before his injury, where he got injured in Edmonton at Christmas, that was December, whatever that was, 22nd, 23rd. He was 8-0 and was kind of like what I'm seeing right now, just very comfortable in the net, making the saves. He's not busy. He doesn't open a lot of holes, doesn't go chasing. He's a big guy who moves well, and he reads plays. Like, he looks comfortable right now. I don't know what that translates to, but as you mentioned, the stats aren't lying. 3 goals on 63 shots or whatever it is. Yeah. And he looks comfortable the last couple games. And the Leafs in the first couple games, they were getting to him because they were getting bodies there, and he wasn't tracking pucks, and he looked a little bit off kilter. And now the Sens are, trying to get to Stolarz, getting bodies in front of him. Another seeing eye shot yesterday from Shabbat, where, just get your pucks through. That was one of the things I noticed, if I had to critique Ottawa, was at one point they had 90 shots blocked. So they weren't in credit to the Leafs for getting in lanes, and Chris Tanev, who's a blocker of all blockers, but you've got to get your shots through to test the goaltender. Somehow Ottawa is finding a way to at least get a few more shots through, and a few of them have found the back of the net.
It's crazy over the course of a 7-game series, which, what are we talking? Just a week or a little more?
Yeah.
How convinced we can all be of certain things. Wow, this is clearly what's happening. This is not happening, so here's how it's going to end. And then wait about 5 days, because it was Friday when we felt a certain way about the Oilers-Kings series. Today's Wednesday. And I don't know how you feel. We've talked about it a bit. We feel 180 degrees polar opposite of where we were just a few short days ago.
It's funny you say that, because Toronto and Edmonton are both up 3-2. One fan base is so upset. One fan base is so elated. Now, the pathway, you look at the pathway of how they've arrived. On Friday, we were looking at a team that was disjointed. Stuart Skinner wasn't making saves. Evan Bouchard was doing what he does. Side note, could he be the most fascinating player in the National Hockey League?
What a study. It'd be
like, that's a case study.
Yeah.
Pinder, like, analytic wise, this guy, he could be the most fascinating case study on the planet when it comes to pro athletes. Because you're like, there was a time the other night where they were chasing the game, and he was a direct result of some of the goals going in and casual and turning pucks over. And then he scores a goal and then bats a puck out, or, Byfield doesn't get it out. He makes a aggressive play, keeps it in and scores again. And people are like, you got to sign him. Give him 10 million, give him 12 million. Like, yeah. The only thing that I can conclude out of this is that they miss Ekholm to quiet his game down. Yeah. And I had a chat with Mark Mathot the other day, and I think it's a great, it's not a great comparison because Karlsson's on another planet, or was one. But Mathot was so good with Erik Karlsson that he put a lot of fires out. And he just kind of quieted things down and allowed him to do what he did. Clearly, Bouchard is missing Ekholm that quieted and poured water. They're missing the Rhett Warner. that type of stuff, a stabilizing defenseman that go, clean up on aisle 9. I'll go over and sweep this up and clean it under the rug, and you go do what you do. And once in a while, it doesn't work. But he is the most fascinating case study. So getting to your point with the Oilers, another interesting, crazy stat, they've had 63 high danger chances in the last 2 games. They had 33 in the overtime game in the other night. And last night, it was 30 high danger chances. That's 63 good looks. Like that's, and they're all, I mean, take it for what you're worth in context. But that's pretty impressive. Like that's a team that's woken up. And yes, McDavid and Draisaitl, but I think Evander Kane showing why he can be important. That was Frederick's best game last night. You're seeing some contribution from, I thought Arvidsson, he's a little bastard to play against, and I say that respectfully. He's a tiny little man, but man, he's like, he can be like a Tasmanian devil.
You know who else, Noodles? And we talked about him the other day, and we shook our heads like, what are they doing, signing? Corey Perry in the playoffs is just get through 82. Don't worry about he still wants to win so badly and has the ability to make an impact again last night.
You're 100% right. I was going to say Klingberg as well, but let's go with Corey Perry first. Corey Perry, I was shocked that you're playing Draisaitl, McDavid, Perry. And I'm like, why is Hyman what is the thought process of not having Hyman there? And somebody said to me, when you look at it, Perry has better hands. Hyman's a harder worker as far as, in the forecheck. He's faster. He can be more physical because he's faster on the play. But when push comes to shove, you need somebody who can be a finisher in that spot, in the front of the net. And Perry has just a little bit better hands, more cleaner, more natural hands. So that, I think, might be the thought process of why Perry would be playing with them. And then you partner with Hyman with Nugent Hopkins, who they work well together, and they're smart players. But it's just interesting. And then where I wanted to go, I wanted Rhett to weigh in on this. John Klingberg, I thought his career was over.
Yeah.
And the last 2 games, he looks like, he handles the puck so well. He's not fast, so he has to think the game. But he's made some really nifty plays to, either extend a play offensively or to get out of the zone, quickly. Yes, he got walked by Kempe last night and Pickard bailed him out. But, everybody gets walked. It happens. But for me, I think Klingberg is really kind of, it was Klingberg or Brown. And you need Klingberg who can move the puck. So I think a few of the guys that haven't played have kind of settled into their game, and it's kind of helped their depth a little bit.
They look way better, like they've come alive and they're playing the way Oilers fans wants them to play. What is going on with LA though? Like, we're ultra focused. We're in Alberta and we can't cheer for the Oilers and blah, blah, blah. They got the greatest play. What has LA got going on? Like, have they gotten in their own heads? Is the coaching decision muddied it up? Byfield doesn't get it out. Like, we're literally talking about a sweep to losing in 6.
Yeah.
And I'm in my brain, what we're talking, I'm going, what's Hiller and what are the Kings feeling right now? Like, are they defeated? What is the coach telling you right now going into Edmonton for the next game?
I have to say the TSN turning point of the whole series was the goalie interference challenge.
Still,
that changed the dynamic. Edmonton to look back after that. Byfield not getting it out, I would say, like, the Oilers somewhere might have collectively said, like, we just escaped one here. Like, this is because that was 3-1 or 3-0 and a dagger, and that's it. Like, you're done. And to me, might have woke them up. Like, I watched Evander Kane and Calvin Pickard's media after the game last night, and Kane said, like, we're playing with urgency. And, somebody, I don't know, stood up and said, hey, it might have been a McDavid meltdown like we saw on that Prime special or whatever. Like, somebody has gotten to them, or just through experience going, guys, like, we can't play with fire here. LA is a good team. So go to LA.
Yeah.
I think shortening the bench, you're playing Drew Doughty a lot of minutes, okay? And I love Drew Doughty, and he plays hard, and he plays for keeps. And, you know, that Gavrikov, man, I'd have him on my team. Like, he's got a little Robin Regeer piss and vinegar in him, and he's got some meanness to him and that. But Edmonton's wearing them down. Like, when Edmonton turned up the heat, it's tough for 4 guys to go out there and defend and defend and defend. And like, you're now all of a sudden, Kempe played the last 9 minutes as a defenseman last night.
Yeah.
Like, so I think Hiller looks a little bit rattled. But that being said, you know, the attention to detail, Pinder, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but LA, did they struggle to score 5-on-5? Were they, you know, like, I don't
think so. They're probably like a reasonable middle of the pack team.
Middle of the pack. Like, I look at that team, that I think Kempe's a rock star. I really think he's an unbelievable player. But I look at some of their players that have to work to score. I think Fiala's a really talented guy. You know, Trevor Moore's got some speed. Like, they've got some guys who are good players. I think Byfield can be a beast. He's still growing and still coming into it. But like, when you look at it, I've always thought they were a team that had to work to score. They just didn't have this like natural ability to make it happen. And Edmonton's doing a good job defensively. Like, if you look back now, Edmonton's now clogging the slot. They're now actually paying attention to back checking and trying to help the D out instead of just doing what they do, float around. So it might be a combination of both, but LA they've conformed to what Edmonton's been doing the last couple games, where it was Edmonton trying to keep up to LA.
Yeah, and you look at
best team 5-on-5 in terms of scoring.
What's that?
Second best in the league at 5-on-5 scoring differential.
Then you know what? Then I'm corrected, because they haven't looked like that the last couple games.
Yeah,
it did in games 1, 2, 3, 4 though.
But
right?
they all you're right. I thought they did. They again
early
the coach decision, Byfield getting it out, and we're talking about different things. So it's that razor tight, but we know that. But the other thing in game 4 that they did, and I keep harping on it, the third period, they didn't even try to play in the offensive zone. No. Not for a second.
I know. You can't, like, safe is death. I'm sorry. And I think that's where we come back to the case study of Evan Bouchard. He's too much, where there's no safe in his game, where he's just like, nah, I'll play. Like, safe is death. And they've done it 2 games in a row where they're trying to defend instead of going, I'm going to defend in the offensive zone, trying to
have success.
That's how you got there. That's how you got your leads after 40 minutes every game in the series, basically. But the fun thing about the Bouchard case study is, like, we're literally talking about empty nets and clearing the zone from, like, this guy getting run out of town like Eberle did when they lost to the Ducks, and they got absolutely destroyed in that trade. And now it's like, we got to pay this guy. Like, he's literally the second highest scoring defenseman in NHL history in the playoffs behind Bobby Orr. It's insane. And he's got arb rights this summer, so this gets to play out with someone trying to put a value on this guy.
It is crazy. I think what you have to do is remove emotion and look at context with him. There is no perfect player. And what he's able to do to move the puck, to have the shot. You know, I thought he had a poor season.
Yep.
I didn't think he hit the net enough. I didn't think he tried his shot too much. I think he was trying to be too perfect and too safe. And I think what he's done in the playoffs is just elevated and saying, I'm going to use that shot. I'm going to use my instincts. But he is a fascinating case study. I'll give you an example. Last night, Edmonton didn't sit back. They were up 2-1. They kept pushing.
Yeah.
So LA's trying to get stuff going. They're trying to push. And Edmonton, everywhere they turned. Now, they had a good neutral zone, which really helps, because I think sometimes Edmonton struggles in the neutral zone because they get spread out. They're a little lazy coming back. Their gaps, they can't gap up because they're taking on water. But when you get help, their D could stand up. I still think there's more from Nurse. He's a guy who's extremely polarizing, but he's his decision making with the puck offensively, like get the puck on a stick, make a little quicker play. I thought Kulak could have been a little quicker with the puck on certain things, but they've found, at least I think they've found the formula. Okay, we know when we're playing well, it looks like that. And now if they bottle that up and do that tomorrow night and win a series, or does LA have adjustments and force game 7? Kemper's done everything he could. That's the scary part. If Kemper has an average to below average game, that's curtains.
I'll push back on that. He was excellent last night. he was second worst, only behind Hellebuyck in goals saved above expected in the playoffs after game 4. So if you had some of those 5 bell saves last night sprinkled throughout games 3 and 4, this series might be over. Not that he wasn't good, but the goals expected are not flattering for him. Last night he was exceptional. That was his best game by a mile. Could have used that when you could have gone up 3-1 or theoretically 4-0 if you do some things differently.
Is there a way for the Kings to right the ship, or is it?
Well, yes, because
Forecheck would be my advice. And back check. It's playoff hockey. You stop playing playoff hockey. You don't reinvent the wheel. We were better than the Oilers in 4 games, and we're down 3-2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to right the ship, make Edmonton play in their own zone.
Yes,
it's forecheck, and force Calvin Pickard to like Calvin Pickard's done a good job. Like he's made saves, and the weird thing is he doesn't apologize for his style. And I'll give you an example. I talked about Klingberg getting walked by Kempe last night. Kempe had speed, and Kempe tries to open up Pickard. Pickard's so aggressive pushing from right to left that he ends up, if you watch the replay, about 5 feet outside his crease beside the net. But the puck goes through him and comes out the short side. And he doesn't make apologies for, this is how I'm going to play. I'm aggressive. I'm going to take a step out. You're going to have to beat me, either go around me or you're going to have to beat me with a good shot or a deflection. But he just plays a certain way. And right now, I think the Oilers respect that. They know how he's going to play, and they're just going to go, hey, it's an unmade bed, as Ray Ferraro would say. It's an unmade bed in the net, but he plays and he works hard in there. And I'll give you case in point. Draisaitl scores in overtime the other day. McDavid jumps up. He turns and beelines down the ice towards Pickard. And like it just, Pickard, I think, has the room. He has the trust of the guys, and he's made some big saves. And again, analytically, Mike Kelly sent me a small sample size, but he's faced 7 seam side-to-side passes, one-timers, and he's 7 for 7 on them. Stuart Skinner has allowed 5 goals on 8. Now, again, that's tough plays, and one of them was a 5-on-3 Fiala type of thing. But, I think Pickard making those saves at right times has really helped the confidence of the group.
Just going to your, and we can move on and talk about something else, but in a series where teams we've talked a lot about the Kings and how they've shortened their bench, and obviously with the Oilers, it feels like Bouchard and McDavid and they're on the ice all the time. No one has played more than Drew Doughty. He and Mikey Anderson have played more than anybody else in the series. And maybe Mikey has, and Drew Doughty, as they showed on so go out there, play a bunch of minutes. We're going to have you on all game. Plus, you got to be aggressive on McDavid, and you need to hit him, and you need to be physical. And
yeah,
I mean, he's a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah.
But at this point in his career, it just feels like the coach is asking for something that.
Well, and they're sitting back the last.
Yeah.
Shorten your bench and sitting back is a horrible recipe.
You're forcing Doughty to turn and go back and absorb contact and try and make a play. And you're right. If Doughty was playing in the offensive zone and keeping the puck in and dragging to the middle, a little chip down, like the minutes that those guys are absorbing they're heavier miles because of the way that they're actually attacking or sitting back, not attacking. So you're right. Would it be nice to have, somebody Clark to step up and take some more minutes and all of that type of stuff? Yes, but Hiller he's certainly taking a lot of heat for his deployment of players or lack of it. In the end, you got 2 pretty damn good teams going at it. Edmonton, it took a little bit longer to get to what they were as a team. Like I thought Frederick looked good yesterday. I said it earlier. Like Evander Kane is a very unique player. There's not a lot of teams that have an answer for a guy who wants to play like that, who can score, but also punch you in the face and is in every scrum and, is a wild card. He might take a bad penalty because he loses it. And, to me, and all of a sudden now you add in Frederick, who's kind of a Kane light, who wants to be there every scrum, he wants to make an impact and try. Like They've got a little bit of now some sandpaper, which Edmonton, they were the lightest team in the league as far as the way they played this season during the regular season. They weren't a heavy team. They weren't a mean team, but you've got a little bit of that playoff uniqueness. And it's kind of falling into place for them. We'll see. Tomorrow night is a fascinating situation, but I would say, Pinder, to your point then, if Kemper, like I think he's played well, but you can look at some of the goals and all of that type of stuff. But if he has an off night, it doesn't look good for LA because they do rely on him a lot. And
it was great, and they got run. They could have been 8-0 last night.
Right. And even in overtime, I thought he made a couple good saves, a couple games ago.
Sure.
Where it's like, and here's the other thing too. Even in the Skinner games 1 and 2, yes, he may not have statistically had it, but he was better. Like game 1, he fell apart. That the McDavid tying goal, the 5th goal, was no good. It was a great play by McDavid. It goes through the body off the post. Like I would say both goalies weren't great in game 1. But in game 2, Skinner didn't deliver the saves that his team needed. Kemper did, settled in. Games 3 and 4, he's to me that he's given them an opportunity. But if he has an off night where it's a pull or like something like that, that's they got nothing now.
He's a Vezina finalist. He has to play like one, or they're cooked, and they're probably cooked if he does anyway. Like
exactly.
Want to let you go, and it's kind of a common theme and a common thread. But while we're doing the human case study or whatever, if we're can you just keep them on, because tonight the watch of Connor Hellebuyck is going to be kind of fascinating, isn't it?
Yes. So Jekyll and Hyde. Game 1, I thought he was deep on the goals, but they won, right? So you win, you're fine. Game 2, I thought he was fantastic. A little bit more aggressive, certainly dialed in. I thought his positioning was rock solid. Game 3 was a nightmare, throwaway. And it's almost like a coach burned the tape because everybody was red rotten. They got exposed. They were run out of the building physically. I don't know if I said it on the show on Friday. It looked like St. Louis had 7 players on the ice. They were everywhere. And Winnipeg was. So game 3, I'll throw it out the window. Game 4 was interesting because Winnipeg started the first 18 minutes. They were out shooting them. They were out chancing them. They had the territorial advantage and looked good. But then what happens is St. Louis scores right with 2 minutes left in the first period. And you kind of have a game. And you're like, okay, how's Winnipeg going to respond? Run out of the building, period 2, period 3. Now, Mark Scheifele's a big part of that because they clearly targeted him. And he had no points and really no pushback, where he was dominant in games 1 and 2. But I look at some of the details. So Hellebuyck, no good. Robert Thomas goal, for example, that's goal number 5 last game. Kyle Connor goes into the offensive zone, stops up, tries to make a play, turns it over. Morrissey falls on the play. Kyle Connor gets beat up the ice by Robert Thomas. By 5 steps. It wasn't and Connor can move. It was just, he was late on the play. I wouldn't say lazy, but late on the play. If you look at the back door, it was Pionker DeMello was playing right shot, took away the pass. So Hellebuyck, that's your guy. Thomas literally just skates around Hellebuyck and puts it in the open net. There was no push from left to right. There was no I'm going to yard sail this to try and keep this puck out. No urgency on that puck. It's just I'm going to big, I'm going down, and geez, my lateral movement isn't great. I'm just not going to get there. That one's going in. I didn't like that goal. I thought that showed that St. Louis was getting to him and exposing some of the things that, listen, he's not a perfect goaltender, but lateral movement, he's very robotic and compartmentalized. And there is a formula to try and get him moving, and you can get around him. And St. Louis found that. Now they got the last change because Luke Shen looked like, a 30, whatever he is. How old is he? 35? 32?
I don't think he's that old. Maybe I'm
he
wrong.
looked 42 last game.
Yeah, jeez.
And
I thought you were saying the other shit. Sorry.
yeah, no, not his brother.
Yeah, Luke.
The big-headed defenseman. I love that guy. He's an animal. 35. He looked 45. But on the road, you can't shield him. There.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can't shield him. And he wasn't the only problem. They missed DeMello in the third game because he was sick. But in the end, giving up way too many, downhill chances. Hellebuyck has to be better, though. And I like the fact, because he's usually a sociopath when he talks, and gives up 7 and goes, I felt great. I don't know what. He called himself out and said, I need to be better. I will be better. So I'm really excited to see how he's going to play tonight and how they respond, because that was 2 drubbings where they got run out of the building in St. Louis.
We'll let you get out of it. We talked to Devin Dubnyk on Monday, and we were talking about the Oilers and going from Skinner to Pickard. You don't have that option here, right? You just have to go with Hellebuyck, good, bad, indifferent, don't you?
This guy might win the Hart.
Yeah.
Not just a Vezina. I'm part of the voting process. He was number 1 on my list.
Oh, dear.
I had Draisaitl at 2 because he missed those games down the stretch. But, I mean, if you look at it, he had an unbelievable season. And for me, he was a Hart finalist. That's the way I looked at it. Winnipeg's a lot better in front of him this year, but they're just, there's lots of guys that could have been up for the Hart or should have, but there was injuries involved and inconsistencies down the stretch. And you could have had Kucherov in there. You could have had McKinnon, Makar, you name it. I loved Quinn Hughes for the Hart, but they fell apart near the end.
Oh God, I wish we could ask you about Vancouver.
We didn't even touch that yet.
I got time.
Back to Boom's question, you can't. Comrie doesn't solve it. You still have to go to Hellebuyck, even if he shits his pants early.
That's my point. This isn't like, hey, Hellebuyck allows 2 goals on 4 shots tonight. Comrie, you're going in to save this. It's like, This is your net. You play every night. You've been pulled 2 games in a row. Mm-hmm. There's no I think tonight Hellebuyck has to finish the game no matter what happens to it. That would be my opinion of it, because it's not like Comrie came in and slammed the door. Keep in mind, Comrie, there wasn't an injury in Winnipeg where Comrie, I believe Pickard won 22 games for Edmonton this year. He played a lot where, you're going to a guy that the team is familiar with and trusts in the net in Edmonton, as opposed to Comrie, who's an amazing person, great backup, but there's a potential Hart Trophy / for sure Vezina winner in the net. He only comes out if they give up a touchdown tonight in the first period.
Rolly, the goalie, is not taking Hasek's spot. Don't care how many goals were scored on Dom.
Exactly. McLennan's not taking Kiprusoff's spot.
Is Keenan coaching? Hang on, because he did that.
Yeah, well, that's
you never know.
Coaching, so.
Well, again, we don't want to keep you, but Talkett not returning in Vancouver.
I want your guys' opinion on that, because I feel bad. I love Jimmy Rutherford. I've got to know the owner a little bit, Aquilini Francesco, nice guy and all of that type of stuff. But in the end, something's not right there. And for a coach, and we were trying to come up with it yesterday, Paul Maurice left Winnipeg, right? Kind of.
Just don't leave almost ever.
Right. When's the last time a coach goes, no, I'm good? As opposed to usually teams are trying to bring, and that's not a market. It should be a desirable market. Vancouver's a beautiful place, good organization.
How did they play last year? They were awesome. That's part of it to me, is that I can see the tea leaves lining up, whatever the hell you want to describe, for Talkett to leave and go to Philly. Okay, whatever. But that only lines up if things have gone south in Vancouver. Last year, there would be people that were picking them to go to the finals this year.
Agreed. If everybody was healthy and everybody looked good, but it also speaks to how maybe a magic man Talkett was to keep some of the nonsense together in a year where everything was going right. Last year, it all fell apart. And for them to come out and admit, yes, this was going on for a long time, and we finally we couldn't come to a resolution with Pettersson and JT Miller. The Demko injury, what are you going to do with Thatcher Demko? Are you going to sign?
Now you're what? Quinn, you're cooked. Besser's gone. It's the house of cards tumbled, man. This is over. Talkett saw it. The owner's a loon. I know you know him, so you can't say it, but that's the biggest problem they have. Ownership's been an issue for decades.
Okay, so let me go one step further. They've got this guy named Quinn Hughes, who's a pretty damn good player.
He's gone.
That's like, what do you do with Quinn Hughes? He's got 2 years left on his deal, correct?
Yeah. He's a free agent in the summer, 27. Demko's a free agent next summer. Besser's a free agent this summer. He's gone. Tockett's gone.
And you've got Pettersson at 11.6, who I do believe knows how to play hockey and is a pretty damn good hockey player when he's got confidence and all of it. It just, I feel awful for that organization. I've got a dear friend there who's a diehard Canucks fan, and he's been banging the drum that they should have broken it down and rebuilt years ago, and they kept putting masking tape on it and taping it. But I'm saying, but you've got arguably one of the best defensemen on the planet in his prime. And what are you going to do with that?
In a desirable location.
Yes, Vancouver's an amazing city. You guys know I love Calgary. I love Vancouver. You know, I grew up in Edmonton. Like,
all that being said, and I'm interrupting you because
no,
it's an absolute disaster.
Big time.
And so,
like, people are looking at this like this is carrying the birds are going to pick this body clean, aren't they?
Well, again, depending on what the pathway is. If you're Quinn Hughes, you go, what are we doing here?
He's nuts. Well, yeah, okay. He's going to go talk to Rutherford.
Jimmy Rutherford and go,
what with Quinn Hughes? You be Jim Rutherford and tell me what they're going to do. How do you approach this?
Yeah, the guy who just said I really like Tocchet, keep him. Now what's he want?
Who's going to coach?
His brothers.
Well, it sounds like, you know, Rutherford in his media yesterday said that Mike Sullivan wants to stay in the East. So they basically ruled that out.
Wouldn't this be one of the least desirable, which is sad because we're saying it's a desirable place to go live and play, which I believe it to be. Yeah. But as a coach, if you're a coach that's in the running for a job of one of these 7 teams that's looking, this might be the least desirable spot.
I think what you have to be, if you're a coach and a veteran coach and you're sitting down there going, okay, truth serum. Let's pretend this is truth serum.
I'm calling Tocchet.
And you say, who am I coaching next year? That's question number 1. Who's my goalie? It's Lankinen because he's on term. It's Demko, but is he going to be healthy? Yeah, I've got Quinn Hughes. You know, you've got some good players there. Like, you've got the framework of some really good players, but are you going to move them out? Are you going to break this down, or are you going to double down after a bad year and try and use the Besser money and use some of the moves, you know, deck chairs on the Titanic? Are you going to do that? That is, if I'm a veteran coach, I need those answers before I sign there.
Yeah, but what's your job as the GM? What are you doing there? Like, that's the question. Is like, okay, if I'm the coach, they're coming to us. So you want to coach the team? Well, I got to have some answers. Well, okay. Well, what is the answers? I have no freaking idea because I don't trust that Hughes is going to want to stay. I don't trust that Demko's ever going to be healthy again. I don't trust that Pettersson's a good player or has the character to. I think he's got the skill and the talent, but he's clearly not. He's a bit like Line. Yeah. Line can shoot the puck and score you a bunch of goals. Does he do it? No. Oh, well.
They're not going to get a veteran coach. They're going to get Manny Malholter.
Anyway, I don't care. I want Noodles' opinion on what are you doing if you're Rutherford?
How old is Jimmy? 78?
Quitting? Like, he might be the next chip to fall. I've had it. This is too much.
Like, who gives Jim Rutherford his walking orders? Like, let's be honest here. It's the owner.
That's fine, but you're still the owner has to present a plan to the owner.
The owner, you always have to, if you're a manager, you're managing up and you're managing down. I understand that. If the mandate, and it comes back to what Pinder just said, if the mandate is, I don't care what you do, you're making the playoffs next year. So that's your mandate. So you're doubling down and hoping that Pettersson regains to form. You got a healthy Demko, and now you've got you're spending what is it, 11 million, 9 million in net, whatever it is, 6 and. What's Lankinen? Maybe 4. So 10 million in net. And like, to me, you're going to take Besser's money and you're going to, spend it on somebody else and bring in a free agent that have the framework. You hope that Hedl settles in. You hope that Jake DeBrusk is actually he had a good year there. Good. You hope that. So in the end, you're going, well, we have some pieces. We hope we're healthy. We hope that, Dakota Joshua misses the first couple months with I think it was a cancer scare, whatever that was. Respectfully. So you're hoping that the year where you overachieved or not, it all fell together for them 2 years ago and fell apart. Maybe you're hoping, are we somewhere in the middle there?
You're hoping to find a coach that can pull these guys together, like Tom.
Yes.
You need someone that can coach Pettersson is the key here.
Yes.
And again, you don't want to cater to the, enigmatic, high skill, wonder about his work ethic player. But let's be honest, the only path forward for this team to be successful in the short term is someone that gets at least Pettersson humming again. That's
And
the biggest thing he has to hire, is someone that can get Pettersson going.
And keeps Quinn Hughes happy. Like, by all accounts, Quinn Hughes really liked Rick Tocchet.
Yes.
So that's, again, you're in the short term, you're right. It's dealing with Pettersson because you need somebody to coach that team and keep everybody at bay and just get everybody to buy into what it is. Maybe it's a younger progressive coach. Maybe it is Manny Malhotra or somebody like that, a Spencer Carberry type, right? Like young players coach, progressive, all of that. But in the end, that team only goes as far as the guys who are under contract for them and whoever you add in the offseason. And if the mandate is from the Aquilinis, playoffs next year, it's always playoffs, then you're not bottoming out. You're going, we're going to add to this and see what we can make of it. And to me, it's a tough position to be in because you're retooling's the wrong word, but you're trying to add to a group that didn't have success and go, well, maybe this piece helps. Maybe this piece, like
Jason, right?
This is a poor analogy or a poor comparison. The mandate to Kyle Dubas in Pittsburgh was like that.
Yes.
While Sid is here, you got to keep adding. Hey, let's bring in Kevin Hayes. Let's Puljujärvi and all of these. You're going, why the hell did they make that move? So you're trying to add to this group that's aging out. And to me, at some point, they're going to have to explode it. In Vancouver, they're not at that point right now because you have literally the second best player, if Cale Makar is one, the second best defenseman on the planet in his prime. And 2 years away from going adios if I don't like what I'm seeing.
All right, brother. We'll get you out of here.
Yeah, I got to go. I got to eat.
Get the hell out of here.
I'm starving. My groceries are sitting right there.
Yeah.
Again, buddy.
Thanks, James.
See you guys.
You bet. Jamie McLennan on the Insider Hotline, a presentation of Crystal Waters Plumbing and Heating. Go to crystalclearcalgary.com. HVAC promotions on, plumbing promotions on. You can call 403-219-4100 and get them to help. It's the heart of your home. Put it into their capable hands.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.